We are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Media's Live Show, episode 13. Um, I'm hoping today's going to be a short show. Usually I am off on Tuesdays, but this week I got called in. So I had three choices this morning. I could either schedule the stream for 8 o'clock, which will give me time to get home from work and eat dinner. I can cancel the stream altogether, like I did last time I got called in on a Tuesday. Or I can reschedule it for Thursday and have it conflict with the next podcast we're trying to record. I decided to power on through it. I didn't have as much to prepare this week. I didn't do as much this week. We did do the podcast for the RWBY X Justice League crossover, and that's actually what inspired the topic for today's main topic. I've also been revisiting RWBY Beyond. I think I mentioned that a few weeks ago. I've also been revisiting the RWBY podcast because we're coming up on the 100th time we've gotten together to talk about RWBY, and we got something special planned. We got a special plan for the 100th episode. We actually have something special planned this week, something that Dude What the Heck has been wanting to do for a while. We're checking this off the list. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm really excited for it. And it's also something that's going to be really, really easy to edit. It's not going to be as intensive as the past few podcasts. And so I'll be able to get that out at a much more timely manner. I'm hoping that I have it uploaded by Sunday. Unless I get caught up with something else. I've also been continuing my 100% run on Tears of the Kingdom. That's been taking up a lot of time. And I've been remodeling my basement. I got a new TV for the basement. And drilled some holes in my wall and getting this place ready to paint and stuff. Hoping to do that within the next month. Then I'll probably show it off online. I'll probably take some pictures and put them on Twitter when I'm done. So, let's do the weekly recap. There's only 3 shows I want to talk about this week. 2 of them, the usual. The main topic for this week was almost about Dandadan again. And I decided against it simply because I haven't read the Dandadan manga. The main topic I was going to have is that Dandadan needed to be an anime. There is so much in this episode specifically, especially, where the medium of animation just elevates the source material. I cannot imagine reading this as a manga. I can't imagine enjoying this as a manga. This episode was awesome because it was an episode of an anime. Just the use of color, the way that they animated Ira's acro silky mode, styling on all the famous composers, the music. And again, like a lot of the things, the reason why I haven't picked up this manga and the reason why I probably won't is because so much of what I do love about the show are the things that are inherent to the medium. Like, I love the voice actors in the dub. I watch it in dub. I love all the voice actors. The animation, the music, the use of color, like all that stuff just isn't going to be present in the manga, and that's why I've been a little hesitant on picking it up and adding it to my reading list. So yeah, this is the episode where Okaroon and Ira go on their little training arc with Turbo Granny. They fight a bunch of manifestations of people's fear of long dead composers, which is a wild concept that I don't know if I quite understood like what the mechanics were behind that. Dandadan's mechanics are like a little whatever. It's a lot of its vibes. A lot of its vibes. Um, which is why at the end of this episode, Okaru's like squaring up to Evil Eye, like, get your pansy ass out here, I'm gonna beat your ass. Uh Goated. Best show of the season. Not that I'm watching a whole lot of shows this season. As you can probably tell, I'm another episode behind on Rascal Does Not Dream. I still haven't caught up on Witch Watch. There's a couple other shows that are coming out this season that I was wanting to check out. There's that Wakari Kun whatever. There's that Togenanki show where I really like the trailer. Uh, but I haven't heard good things about it. That's why I haven't picked it up. So I'm waiting for that to end. I also still need to start on Call of the Night. Um, I got like 4 episodes in before I put it down. Uh, and there's a lot of shows from last season that I never got around to watching. They're on my list. Oh, My Dress Darling's another one this season that I need to watch. But that one I always plan to watch whenever the season's over, and I'll just like on a Sunday or something just spend 3 hours to watch it. Yeah, usually in an anime season, there's like two, maybe three shows that I'll actually keep up with week to week, and one of them this season is There's No Way I'll Be Your Lover Unless. This show continues to be the funniest goddamn thing I've ever seen. Because this is the episode where they go full on gamer mode. Emphasis on the gamer, spelled with a Y. That should be the title of this episode. Um, this is the gayest fucking show ever. Like, it is so ridiculous. Like, they're so ridiculously horny for like lesbians. Like, I don't know who wrote this or what their gender is. It's gotta be a dude though. The way that it totally like fetishizes these girls and their relationships, but it's so funny. It's so funny. Like this is Renako is just such a funny fucking character, and she actually gets her like morality kind of put to the test in this episode. Trying to take down both Mai and Satsuki in a game of totally not Call of Duty, guys. We swear. But it ends about the only way it could have. Renako does win. That was kind of a bygone conclusion because Renako's the only one who actually like plays video games like for real, and also the plot would like end if she didn't win. But I'm glad that they didn't like try to bait it out. Like they had Sasuke not win any of the rounds, and they had Mai only win the first round due to like a surprise attack that she studied the map beforehand, memorized all those spawn locations, and then just got lucky. Uh, I like that because and there's that the scene where like Sasuke after the second round starts to have a bit of a mental breakdown, goes to decompress, goes to the bathroom to like recompose herself, and Renako goes to talk to her and comfort her and cheer her up and basically lay out her thesis that like this isn't the end, that she wants to be their friend and wants them to make up because she is kind of sick and tired of their bullshit, which I like. I like Renako. Renako is the only reason why I'm watching this show. for real. Everyone else kind of annoying. Like Ajisa's nice, but she's nice in a very super generic way. Satsuki's cool, but she's cool in a way that like a lot of other characters are cool. Mai is kind of annoying in a really bad way, but the fact that all the other characters are willing to call her out on her bullshit makes it worth it. But Ranako's an incredible character, best character in the show by a long shot, and the most pound for pound. She might be the funniest fucking anime character I've seen. Like pound for pound. Like there's shows that are funnier than this that I've seen, but there's ensemble, but a lot of it's like ensemble stuff. Like I can't think of another show where like all the comedy is focused on the main character, and that main character is as funny as Renako is in this. I can't really think of a whole lot of rom coms that have a singular main character who is also the comedic character. Like so many other rom coms, especially like harem stuff, they make the MC like as milquetoast generic, flat, easy to sink your teeth into as possible. They don't give them a lot of rough edges or sharp edges or like meat to really suck on. Uh because like they're supposed to be the cipher and it's all the other characters around them that create all the drama and laughs and intrigue and stuff. Like even my favorite rom-com of all time, quintessential quintuplets, Futuro, best MC in the genre by a long shot. At a glance, he seems a little generic compared to the Quints. And the Quints are like the focal point of a lot of the comedy and drama and intrigue and stuff, and the whole story is focused on like Futuro navigating these complex situations. And he's a very serious character. He doesn't make. That's the point I'm really trying to make. Like Futuro is a serious character. He doesn't really make the jokes. He is neither the butt of the jokes nor is he the instigator of the jokes. Um, he's actually just kind of a dick. Uh, but like same thing with like all the other ones that just flash in my head, like Nisekoi, Shikamori, Rascal, like that. Renako's just really funny, guys. There's only so many ways I can say that. Um, so yeah, another good episode of that. Next thing I wanted to talk about, and I don't usually talk about this because I don't always watch this. Death Battle, Hulk versus Godzilla. Absolute cinema. I don't always watch Death Battle because I'm just not into it as much as I was like 10 years ago when I first got into it. Actually, it's probably closer to 12 years ago. Whenever like the first Superman versus Goku fight came out, that was when I first discovered Death Battle. Uh, and I kept up with it for a long time. Then they just started doing stuff with characters I didn't care about at all, and they did a lot of like rehash fights, like Boba Fett versus Samus, or Link versus Cloud rematch. Uh, and I don't know. I just kind of fell away from Death Battle, and I only like watch it when it's two people that I'm like, okay, I want to see how this goes. I want to see what they say. I want to know how busted Godzilla has got to be to even be in this fight. And this did not disappoint. It did not disappoint because I don't know if I've ever had the chance to talk about this. I am a huge fucking Hulk fan. He's not quite my favorite Marvel character, but he is up there. I love the Hulk. I like Godzilla a lot. I have a lot of respect for the Godzilla franchise. I really like the recent movies that Legacy has done, and Godzilla Minus One is a masterpiece. I love the Hulk because Hulk was created because before Marvel Comics was Marvel Comics, their bread and butter was monsters. They did horror comics. And they also did a lot of like rom-coms and dramas, war stories, and stuff like that. Marvel Comics, before they were Marvel Comics, they weren't a superhero publisher. Timely Comics in the 40s, they had like three superheroes. They had Captain America, Namor, and the original robotic Human Torch. Everything else was like tales from the war front, or strange tales, or weird stories, or weird west. Like they did like a lot of westerns, a lot of horror, a lot of romance, a lot of like stuff that was pretty spicy for 1940s, early 1950s standards. Um, and I really want to make this point in a video almost like dedicated to this. But in the 1950s, there was this stupid ass book called Seduction of the Innocent that was fucking propaganda, and it was based on an absolute quack science that has been thoroughly debunked since then. But Seduction of the Innocent basically claimed that comic books were the devil and that they were leading young people astray. Specifically, one of the big things that came under fire were Batman and his relationship with Robin. This is the book that started the whole Batman and Robin gay lovers thing. It started with this book. Uh, and so it caused a lot of outrage. It caused a lot of like parents to like protest comic books and stuff. And the comic book industry, in return, created the Comics Code Authority. And DC had the biggest market share of the American comic book industry at that time because they had both Superman and Batman. They were also the ones who were coming under fire for a lot of the stuff because, again, Batman. And so they had the biggest say in what went into the Comics Code Authority. And they purposely used it to try to put Timely Comics out of business. They specifically orchestrated the guidelines of the original Comics Code Authority were directly targeting everything that Timely was producing at the time. Because at the time, it was like 1953, 1954-ish, Timely Comics was no longer publishing any superheroes. Captain America got canceled in 1947. Namor and the Human Torch got canceled well before that. So they were, from like 1947 to 1958, they were exclusively publishing horror, romance, and all this other stuff that was getting restricted because of the Comics Code Authority. And then they had to rebrand to Atlas Comics for a few years. They tried to bring Captain America back. That didn't really work out, and then they got under like new management, got bought out by some other publishing company, and became Marvel Comics. Which is a decision that DC has regretted ever since, because as soon as Marvel Comics became Marvel Comics and published the Fantastic Four for the very first time, they have been fucking DC Comics like over the counter, like just face down, ass up. Marvel has been beating their ass like it's a Friday night at Elton John's house. Even when Marvel was like going bankrupt in the 90s, DC wasn't very far ahead. In fact, DC was financially doing worse. They just had a lot of other things going on to their benefit that were helping them pay the bills. In the early 90s, DC was in third place in a two-person race because they were being outsold by Marvel and they were also being outsold by Image. But that didn't really matter to the DC shareholders because Warner Brothers was paying the bills and Warner Brothers was making enough money to where they didn't care if they were taking a loss on DC. They weren't going to let it go. It was too lucrative of an IP. Batman the Animated Series, dude, what the heck brings up Batman the Animated Series? That's actually a good example of exactly what I'm talking about, because Batman the Animated Series, as beloved and as just classic and as much as that's like my favorite TV show of all time, Batman the Animated Series was made at a loss for each episode. It bankrupted several animation studios that worked on it. But Warner Brothers didn't care that they were taking the loss because they were making so many gains elsewhere with like the movies, Batman Forever and Batman Returns. Both made a lot of money. And Batman 1989, which helped kick this whole wave of DC off, made all of the money. Like the highest grossing movie of 1989, I'm pretty sure. Uh, all that to say is that Hulk was basically Marvel's revenge. Hulk was created as Marvel's revenge because like they weren't able to do horror stories anymore. So Stan Lee decided, you know what? Fuck them. I'm gonna make a monster superhero. And then they ain't gonna be able to say shit. Because he's going to be awesome, he's going to be well written, he's going to be intriguing, he's going to have like all the cosmic power bullshit of like a Superman or a Green Lantern, but with the pathos and just drama of like the best Spider-Man or X-Men comics. And there's a reason why Hulk has been one of Marvel's heaviest hitters, both like in the power scaling sense and also in the sales sense, ever since. Hulk comics sell like crazy. Hulk was the first Marvel superhero to get like a successful television show. He was the first Marvel hero to like sell. I can't remember what the benchmark was, but there was actually a time not too long ago, just a few years ago. I think it was like 2018 when it was Ewing's. I can't remember his first name, but Ewing's Immortal Hulk run was outselling Batman. And not just by a smidge. He was outselling Batman by so much that DC prematurely canceled that Batman run. Tom King was never able to finish his Batman run because DC was shitting their pants over how much better Hulk was selling. Specifically Hulk. Hello, Rat Knight. What are we chatting about? I am just gushing about how much I fucking love Hulk and how successful Hulk has been as an IP. Um, like I said, like he's not my favorite, but I haven't read a single bad Hulk comic. I've read a lot of Hulk comics. I've read some dogshit Captain America comics. I've read some horrible X-Men comics. I've read some just abysmal Batman comics. There are entire runs, entire eras of Spider-Man that are basically unreadable. But I have not ever read a single bad Hulk comic. I haven't read every Hulk comic. I'm sure there's some bad ones in there. But I've never found them. But beyond that, beyond like me just loving the Hulk and being glad that he finally won a death battle as he rightfully deserves, I almost wonder if like Ewing and Donny Cates revamped the Hulk the way they did in order to make it impossible for him to lose the next death battle. That's a theory people have. But I love the story here. A lot of these death battle versus matches are like, oh, hey, we're just slamming these two characters together and they're gonna just fight. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. Like Spider-Man, the one that popped in my mind was Spider-Man versus Batman, which was one of their early episodes. Why the fuck would they ever fight? It's just a fight for fight's sake, and you kind of just have to do it with these sorts of things. But the story they were able to tell with Hulk versus Godzilla, this might be the best death battle of all time. Like this could have been a movie. Like they could have like stretched it out to like an hour and a half, 2 hour movie. Hulk versus Godzilla. And I love that it's not his cosmic power bullshit that saves the day. The thing that actually gives Hulk the edge over Godzilla is Bruce Banner. I love that. I love that because that's such a Hulk story. That's so common. Like Hulk's entire rogues gallery is like other versions of him. And I'm not just talking about like Mr. Fixer or the Savage Hulk or the Maestro. I'm talking like Abomination or A-Bomb or the Leader or Red Hulk. Like there's so many other like Gamma monsters, even things that aren't like necessarily Gamma based, like a Wendigo is a Hulk villain who's a big monster. Like Hulk fights a lot of big monsters. And a lot of times it's not something that he can just punch his way through because they're like either immortal or regenerate uh or just too important like to the stability of the universe or whatever. And so Bruce Banner has to like actually think of a way through it. Right, and I said one death battle I thought was stupid was Bane versus Venom. Like to me that wasn't much of a fair fight. That's just me though. Bane versus Venom would have been a much more interesting fight if they cut off the Spider-Man continuity at like 1990. Because originally the symbiote suit did not enhance anything. Uh, it never enhanced Spider-Man's powers. It just uh, made him want to cut loose more, and it didn't enhance Eddie Brock's powers. He was just a naturally like kind of strong dude. So that version of Venom, I could see having an interesting fight with Bane. Any other version of Venom, any version of Venom from like after 1990, should be dog walking Bane. Like I know Bane has some insane feats as well, but at the end of the day, he's just a dude on steroids who gets beaten by Batman a lot. Whereas Venom is going to toe to toe and overpowering Spider-Man. Like it's just a completely different weight class. Uh, but yeah, I'm also interested in the next death battle, Ruby versus Maka. I think Maka is going to win. I prefer Ruby as a character. I don't like Soul Eater very much. But that's a Batman versus Superman type matchup where like Ruby's got technically better training. She's got technically better equipment. She's got all the different types of dust, giving her all these elemental advantages. Her semblance basically makes her somewhat intangible sometimes when the writer decides it is. Um, but Maka can literally just like grab her and punch her to the moon, so she's probably gonna win. It's like a reversal of the last time. Wait, no, last time was Weiss versus the Persona Girl. Um, but when they had Blake versus Mikasa from Attack on Titan, that was one of the most one-sided ass beatings Death Battle has ever done, because you got like a person who's like kind of strong for a human in one of the weakest verses versus someone with like soul armor. Uh, because like let's be real, Attack on Titan would lose to our world. Like Attack on Titan is one of the very few fictional worlds that would just get dog walked by the modern military. Like all we would need is like 3 or 4 F-15s, not even state of the art airplanes, just something from after World War II, just a couple of those, and we would end the rumbling in like 3 hours. Dude, what the heck asks, how have all the RWBY death battles gone so far? Yang beat Tifa in a very controversial fight. She was saved by Volume Two's Looney Tunes logic. Blake beat the brakes off of Mikasa. Again, like Mikasa can like dodge, bolt action, rifle fire. Blake in the black trailer was like casually swatting away Gatling gun fire. Like, it's just not even close. I don't know why they even chose those two. And then Weiss lost to some character from Persona. I don't know Persona. I didn't even really. I think I watched like part of that battle and then the end, and that was it. Rat Knight asks, I wonder, do they even make RWBY action figures anymore? Yang won because of Nora. That's how OP Nora is. Yeah. I do wonder if they'll ever do a death battle with Nora, and if so, who would she fight? Like, the first one that came to mind is Thrud from God of War, but Thrud gets so little to do in that game. But yeah, I know RWBY still makes like figurines. I know that they certainly still sell them. Because I was looking at a few myself. I've still been really tempted to get that fucking Ice Queendom Weiss figurine that we found while we were doing the podcast. I still have that in my like wish list to get eventually because damn, Weiss is just such a gorgeous character. Can't wait for the next podcast. No spoilers on it though. I am gonna have a lot of gushing about Weiss to do in that podcast. So that's really all my thoughts on Death Battle. I thought it was really creative, really well done, and it was a good match. So let's spend the rest of my time here talking about pitching RWBY crossovers. I have no notes, by the way. I just didn't have the time to conduct myself. I found out late last night that I was not going to have today off, and my original plan was to wake up around like 11 o'clock today, do some brainstorming, jot down some notes, have lunch, go on my walk, come back, and spend the rest of the time just prepping for the podcast. But I ended up having to work today, so I didn't get back until 7, until like 7:15, 7:30. And then I was fucking starving. They had me on the truck today doing deliveries. I am not a delivery man. I am not one of the PTs. I am a salesperson. But we were short staffed, so I got put on the truck. And for those of you who do not know me, or have never seen me, or just may have forgotten, I am like 5'6", 140 pounds, soaking wet. I've actually put on a lot of weight over the past year or two. I put on like 20 pounds in the past 3 years. And I am still scrawny as can be. Like, I am still a short king. But yeah, so I'm exhausted. RWBY crossover. So the one we talked about in the podcast was Teen Titans. I still think that's probably the most interesting one. Because when you think of like crossovers, you have to think about like who could they feasibly cross over with? Like, who would Viz even have Viz Media owns the rights now. Who would they even like be able to get in touch with? I would imagine they could get in touch with DC pretty easily. I'm pretty sure DC has like a no rejection policy. RWBY and history crossover. RWBY and ancient Egypt and meet Cleopatra because why not? That would actually be apt because you know who is a contemporary of Cleopatra, right? Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar famously wore a red cape. So Julius Caesar teaming up with Ruby, while I guess Blake would team up with Cleopatra, and like I guess Weiss would be like the Mark Antony in that situation. Who would Yang interact with in that time period? My first thought was Hannibal of Carthage, but that was like was like 100 years earlier. Pompey, Cassius. Uh, Ruby crossing over with Once Upon a Time. They just interact with their Disney fine fairy tale live action selves. But you got to do it Roger Rabbit style, where like the Ruby characters are still animated, and the Once Upon a Time people are like live action and very clearly 10 years older than they were the last time they were on that show. uh, uh, I still think like I said, I think Teen Titans would be the best one. Because when you're thinking about like crossovers, not only do you have to think about like the rights issue thing, but you also have to think about like the dynamic. Like one of the big things that was weird about the Justice League crossover is that it treated the Justice League and Team Ruby as like equals, and that doesn't feel right. Like the Justice League feel like they should always be the elder statesmen of superheroics, no matter who they're interacting with. I have a lot of that same problem with the several times that they've crossed over with Marvel. Like even though I prefer Marvel, I am a Marvel guy. I spent like a solid 20 minutes of today's live show glazing the Hulk. But every time Marvel and DC crossover, DC should like feel like they're the seniors, like they have seniority, like they've been in the game a lot longer. Whereas Marvel should feel like the fresh, young, hip, cool team. And yeah, there's just a mismatch here. And it also didn't help that they made some weird choices with matchups. Doing team crossovers is a lot harder than doing solo crossovers because you just have a lot more characters to juggle around with. And the matchups they chose, like Ruby and Superman, that makes sense. That's the obvious one. Weiss and Batman, sure, they're both rich and trying to use their parents or their family's influence to do some good in the world. Uh, then they had Blake and Yang both working with Wonder Woman because heaven forbid Blake and Yang have separate character arcs in a post Volume 5 world. Then they had Nora and Rand teaming up with Cyborg because electronics. Uh, One of the main villains in the Justice League crossover was Kilgore, who was originally a Flash villain, and they didn't really give Flash shit to do. He spends the first half being possessed by Kilgore, and then the second half just like at a computer burning the candles at both ends, and none of the characters actually talk to him about that. Like, hey, you think that might have been an interesting interaction for like, oh, I don't know, Yang to have the same conversation with Barry Allen that she had with Blake in Volume 2? And Flash be like, okay, yeah, I get it. I've been down this path before, but like, okay, thank you. Thank you for understanding where I'm coming from and what I need to do to like calm down. Like I feel like Flash would be very grateful, if not maybe a little perturbed about being talked down to like that by a 19-year-old kid. Uh, Yang would be Xerxes. I know that's out of the timeline, but would be cool. You know how they could actually fix a lot of the timeline issues? Ruby and Fate. And that is all I'm going to say. Because I fucking hate Fate. Like, I had to get drag kicking and screaming into the Justice League crossover. If they do a crossover with Fate, I am going to refuse to watch it. Like, you will have to pay me to do content on that if that comes to be, because I think Fate is cultural vandalism. I think it is cultural vandalism, the anime. I think that the creative choices they make are, without exception, bullshit. I do not like it conceptually. I do not like it in any of the details. Um, I just have a personal vendetta against everything that Fate stands for and represents within the media landscape. Let's see. Another one that I brought up was like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that's one that, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they get around the multiverse quite a lot, so you can easily like have them plop into uh Remnant, get mistaken as like highly mutated faunus or something. That'd be fun. Uh, and then the interactions, you would clearly have like Yang and Michelangelo, Weiss and Donatello. Um, then I guess Blake and Raphael, and then Ruby and Leo is the easy one. Crow and or Ozpin slash Oscar would interact with Splinter. Uh, I already said this in the podcast, but with the Teen Titans, the villains would you would have to do like Tyrion and Deathstroke. For TMNT, you gotta have Shredder in there, and that would be another one where, like, I would say like either Tyrion or like Cinder, or if they have it take place, if they have it like be a vertical slice from like pre Volume 6 or during Volume 6, you can even have like Shredder and Adam. Like, I think that'd be interesting, especially if you're going with the whole like TMNT get mistaken for highly mutated faunus. Uh, some other thing. I'm trying to think of like Viz Media, Ruby and Bleach. But like, no, that's just Bleach is in just such a different class as far as just the way the world in Bleach is put together. I don't think. I mean, Justice League, you would think it's the same way though. So like, I could see Ichigo and Co dropping in a remnant, thinking that the Grimm are hollows, and vice versa. Team Ruby drops into like Karakura Town and mistakes the hollows for Grimm. And you can even hand wave like, oh, they have aura, they're able to project their aura. That basically works the same way as spiritual pressure now. Uh, Team Ruby would absolutely get full brings too, if they wanted to go that route. Like, their semblances would end up manifesting like the full brings do. Then obviously like the interactions, like you would have Ruby and Ichigo, even though Ichigo is much more of like a Blake or a Weiss. Um, Uryu would absolutely have a fun dynamic with Weiss. By the honor of the Quincy's, by the honor of the Schnees. Then of course you'd have like Chad and Yang because they punch things, and Jean and Orihime would be cute. That'd be a cute interaction. The healers of the group interacting. But then that would leave, I guess, Rukia. Or maybe Rukia and Weiss would interact a lot more, because they both have ice powers and they both come from noble families as well. And the Quincy's are like chastised and ostracized from Soul Society. So Uryu could also like find some common ground with Blake. That's what we're like. The dynamics are so would be so easy to flesh out that I would actually like pair up Weiss and Blake, and then pair up Udayu and Rukia because Udayu and Rukia are a pair of people that just don't get a whole lot of interactions together. Uh, and then Weiss and Blake are characters that should get a lot more interactions together than they do. And I think having them do like Bleach uh, would help give us a little more meat on that. Cook us up a good meal on that. And then with Bleach, you would kind of have to like have Salem show up, because she just thematically she fits Bleach's vibe so much better than any of her subordinates do. Okay. Uh, I wouldn't want to do Naruto because that's just like where would you even fucking begin with that? Like what would even the plot be? Without even like getting into like who the villains would be, like Orochimaru and Salem, Orochimaru and Watts. But I feel like that would just be too close to what the Justice League crossover ended up being. And the only other like real villain in Naruto is all the members of the Akatsuki, and that's just too much. My Hero Academia would be a fun one just because they're in the same like age demographic. I have no idea what the plot for that would be. Like, I would think that like Cinder and Shigaraki teaming up in that would be fun because they're effectively the same kind of character. But yeah, like you wouldn't want to do all of Class 1A. You'd have to pick and choose. Like you'd have to have like Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki, Ida, like Kirishima. But like who would interact with who? Like Todoroki and Weiss. That seems like the obvious one. Yang and Bakugo both like punch things with exploding gauntlets. So like, but is that really enough to build a interesting dynamic out of? Deku and Ruby, leaders of the pack or whatever. That would be the interaction there. But then like, would you even want to do like the racism thing again and have Shoji be part of the group? Have like Shoji and Blake working together on something? Uh, and My Hero Academia's plotline is just so tight that, especially towards the end, that that like I wouldn't even know where they would try to like squeeze it in. Not that that matters because it wouldn't be canon. My news is really stuffy. Ugh. Eclectic 1995, welcome. Do you see Winx Club would be comparable enough for a crossover with main girls interacting with only Team Ruby? I am not familiar with Winx Club. I've never seen it. Super Clippy said, I would love to see Ruby and Steven Universe. Steven Universe is another thing that I've never seen before in my life. I only know it by reputation, and I don't like what I've seen. Not my kind of show. Here's something I was originally going to bring up in the podcast, kind of a little side tangent. Um, but then when I googled it, I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Because I kept on thinking, like, why the fuck does the Justice League and Ruby share like a cyberspace? Because like Watt's downloading his brain into like the Atlas network. Remember, the CCT can't even do like cross continental communications without all four towers being up, and there are no satellites in Remnant. So like, how did that? How did Watts and Kilgore even meet? Like, it's never really explained. Like, if it was from the other direction, if Kilgore like found himself in a Remnant through his own like multiversal fucking Wi-Fi router and was like, oh well, I just popped into another universe. That would make no sense still, but it would at least be passable. But I brought that part up in the podcast, but like I had a bit of a revelation that it might be because of the fucking Space Jam movie. Because Space Jam 2020 whatever with LeBron James established that all of the Warner Media properties are in the same like fucking cyberspace thing. And I thought that might be the case, but then it was like the timeline, like the timing didn't really make sense because Space Jam flopped and they never brought it up in any other film ever again, and so it wouldn't make much sense for it to be relevant to Ruby X Justice League like 2 years later and not anything else in between. I want to see Team Ruby play basketball. That is not a crossover thing. That is just a thing. I mentioned Space Jam, and now I'm thinking like, you know what? Four people as Jean in, you got enough for a basketball team. Hell, add some of the other cast members. You can get a fucking baseball game going. Uh, Ruby crossing over with X-Men, but they just play baseball. That's my sales pitch. Because like, if you don't read X-Men comics, you wouldn't get how funny that is. X-Men have a lot of members, a lot of current members, a lot of ex-members, a lot of like reserve members, and at the end of like every big X-Men arc or X-Men saga or X-Men event, they always play baseball. Do they? Well, it's basketball, so it is a crossover thing. Uh, Michael Kaufman said, "Would Sonic be a good idea? Roman Torchwick and Doctor Eggman just seemed like a funny combo." Okay, yes, but only if it's Ruby Chibi. Ruby Chibi and Sonic. That's a crossover idea. Then you could have like the Chibi version of Roman Torchwick and the Chibi version of Neo teaming up with Doctor Eggman, and make it the Sonic Boom version as well. And then like yeah, Ruby with Sonic. I would say jeez. Guess Yang and Knuckles would be the interaction there. Then like you have Tails and Amy Rose would kind of like do rock paper scissors over who wants to be saddled with Blake, or Weiss and Blake would do. Well, actually, I don't know who would be the more embarrassing one to hang out with between Tails and Amy. because they are both kind of pathetic in a lot of ways, but in very different ways. Like Miles is just fucking miles per hour. Tails uh is just kind of a dork and like socially awkward, whereas Amy is fucking psycho. Where's some other things that have like demon or monster hunting? Ruby and Demon Slayer. That would be fun. Get the boys in. Get Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke. With Nezuko. Have them team up with Team Ruby to take down a grimified demon man. You wouldn't even have to bring out any of their canonical villains. You could just make that a straight up fucking Grim Hunt story, where like Tanjiro and crew like stumble into Remnant through the fucking wormhole or something. I don't know, and have to like deal with fighting Grim, and then in part two, because you gotta have a part one and part two, because you have to have like them interacting on each other's home turf when it comes to these cross universe crossovers. You always have to, for every Batman spawn, there has to be a spawn Batman. Uh, yeah, and then you can have like Team Ruby trailing back home. Uh, I worry on that one that Team Ruby would be like too OP, because Demon Slayer's another one where like the people aren't all that impressive. Where's some other ideas? I know a famous one, at least for a while, was like Kingdom Hearts, but I know like next to nothing about Kingdom Hearts. I played through the first game. I actually played through all three numbered entries, and I have no fucking idea what any of them were about. Because they're just so convoluted, so horribly written. Especially that third one. Kingdom Hearts 3 was trash from a writing perspective, and also from a gameplay perspective. Like I enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3 while I was playing it, but then the second I like turned it, the second the credits rolled, and I started thinking back on it, I was like, man, that game was repetitive as fuck. The Jacob V11 said Fairy Tale. I think that would be interesting. I don't know enough about Fairy Tale to comment on it. I do know that a bit about Ezra, or is it Ezra or Urza? Fairy Tale. Urza. Like that's one that I would really want it to be like pre-Void 3 Team Ruby, just because the first dynamic that popped in my head was actually Urza and Pyrrha. Two redheaded, super powerful redheaded, just fucking bombshells. Ah, man, Urza is the only reason why I've ever been tempted to watch Fairy Tale, because that is just peak woman design right there. Google says she's 19, so that is fine. Not that fictional character ages fucking matter. I think I've kind of teased at that rant several times over the past 13 weeks that like you can't really worry about the age of characters so long as they are drawn like maturely um and not purposely made to look like they're under the age of like 14 or 12 or 10 in some cases. Um and I used Naruto as an example. I can't remember when, if I even did this or if it was something I was planning to do and never did. But like Naruto, I was 12 when I watched Naruto, and I was attracted to Hinata, who was also 12 when I was 12. But now I'm 32, and Hinata is like canonically 33, 34 in Boruto, but like in Naruto Shippuden, she's like 16 the whole time, and or 15, 16 the whole time, and in part one she's 12 the whole time, and it's just not worth getting hung up on. It's just not worth the amount of time it takes to Google. Like people who actually care about characters fictional ages like that are all um they're all weirdos who totally would perv on someone if they didn't know their age. Whereas I like to eyeball it. If you look mature, if you look like you could pass for an adult, then you're an adult. So long as you're a fictional character. This is only fictional characters that this applies to. Just throwing that out there. Uh, Where's some other big name animes? Ooh! I just thought of one that would be fun. Jujutsu Kaisen. It would never happen. And totally, Jujutsu Kaisen is just a completely different show than RWBY. Like they're just so totally at odds. But for a lot of the same reasons that I think a RWBY Bleach crossover would be fun, I think a RWBY Jujutsu Kaisen crossover would be fun because Cursed Spirits and Grimm kind of have the same wavelength. And you could have like a Mahito or even like an original character villain, or like maybe Sukuna is trying to get out, and maybe like Salem is trying to like get Sukuna out of Yuji or whatever. Um, you'd have to think about like the which characters from Jujutsu Kaisen you use, because you have like Yuji, Nabara, and Megumin. Other than like Yuji being the main character and RWBY being the team leader, they interact. Nothing. There's no like obvious connections there. There's no like, oh, that's something that they have in common. That's something they can build common ground with, or juxtapose each other with. There's none of that. Like I wouldn't even know who to pair off with who in that crossover. I wouldn't even know where to really begin. Because like you have Yuji, Megumin, and Nabara, but then Gojo is like you'd have to have him interacting with like either a Crow or an Ozpin level person, uh, in order to like make the dynamic make any kind of sense. And then like who does that leave for who? Because like, do you bring in the second years like Inazuka and uh Panda? Do you bring in the Kyoto guys like Toto? Do you bring in, and then if you bring in characters like that, like do you bring in Team Juniper? Do you bring in Team Sun? Like, well, where does it end? But yeah, the only thing that I find interesting about like RWBY Jujutsu Kaisen crossover would be the Cursed Spirits and Grimm fighting together, and Team RWBY having to actually use their auras to like deal with it. Uh, I'm gonna do like one or two more, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. Here's one that's been staring me in the face all day. Uh, RWBY and Godzilla. Just Godzilla just fucks up all the remnant, and you just make it a Godzilla circle jerk with all the RWBY characters just scrambling. You basically write it the same way that you would write the current like a Godzilla Marvel crossovers, where it's just like Everyone's scrambling, trying to find something that'll slow Godzilla down, and nothing's fucking working. But then you have him fight a giant, like, apocalyptic sized Grim, and be like, oh, he was actually here to, like, save the world from this nightmare Grim scenario. Like, you would totally structure it like a Godzilla film, where, like, Godzilla shows up, the people fight him, uh, they don't understand what's going on, they can't, like, get a hold of, they can't, like, get Godzilla pinned down, or sometimes they do, or a new monster comes in, kicks Godzilla's ass. It's even bigger, badder, scarier than Godzilla. Godzilla comes back, teams up with the heroes of Remnant, takes down the monster, and then he just fucks off. That's what I would do for a RWBY Godzilla crossover. And then, of course, since you already had them team up with the Justice League, why not have them team up with some Marvel characters? Uh, when it comes to the X-Men, you would just have to just throw darts at a board. Who's going to be on the X-Men team? Like, are we using Cyclops? Are we using Wolverine? Are we using Storm? Are we using Colossus? Are we using Nightcrawler? Uh, are we using Emma Frost? Are we using Jean Grey? Are we using Beast? The only obvious interaction in that would be, like, Professor Xavier and, like, Osmond slash Oscar, and only because they are similarly shitty characters. Uh, Avengers would not be fun in all the same ways that Justice League was kind of. RWBY would interact with Captain America. Nora and Thor. That's one that you would actually have to have Team Juniper involved in. Have, like, Ren team up with Black Panther, Nora team up with Thor, Yang team up with the Hulk. If you use the Hulk, Hulk is actually very rarely ever in Avengers. Uh, and then, like, sorry, Jean, but Jean and Ant Man. Weiss would team up with Iron Man because, again, like, rich. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of Avengers you can use. You can just throw darts at the board and find uh, promising interactions. And then Fantastic Four, that's the easy one because there's four of them. Yang with the Thing. No, no. Them punching things is not enough. You'd have Yang with the Human Torch, and you would have Blake with the Thing, and you would have those two pairs. See, a Fantastic Four crossover is actually one where you benefit from Bumblebee, because one, uh, Blake and Yang, best friends, lovers now. Human Torch and Thing, butting heads all the time. One of them's hot. One of them got, like, a lot of personality, hot shot, young, totally irreverent, and the Thing is always doubting himself because he's a rock monster. And also, uh, within Fantastic Four continuity, you always get periods where, like, Reed and Sue are going on vacation with Franklin or whatever. They're getting some husband wife family time, and two other characters fill in for them in the Fantastic Four. And a lot of times they go with the couple, like Black Panther and Storm. Is one that I actually read. And then, yeah, you would have, like, Ruby and Weiss with Reed and Sue. Like, that's fun. And you would have, like, I wouldn't actually use Doctor Doom, as badass as that would be. I would go with, like, the Mole Man for that. I would have, like, Mole Man and either, like, Roman Torchwick or, like, Sienna or Adam, one of the Faunus guys, or even, like, maybe a Roman Torchwick. But then you'd have to go, like, pre volume 1, and then you lose, like, or pre volume 3, and you would lose a lot of the interesting potential interactions with Blake, Yang, the Thing, and Human Torch. But yeah, I like that. I like all the pretty much all the ideas we've shot forward. Thank you all for joining me again. This has actually been one of the most successful live streams. Certainly has had the most active chat I've had. Like this was a really good topic. I'm glad I picked this. Let me know if there's any other things you would like me to talk about or gush about. Like, throw out a comic book character, and I'll do a live show where I just talk about my thoughts on that character for like 30 to 40 minutes. Like, I'm willing to do that with this format now because like I don't watch a whole lot of things regularly. Uh, so I always end up wrapping up the recap in like 20 to 30 minutes. That gives me a solid hour to talk about the main topic, and I just so rarely utilize that hour because I either run out of things to talk about or I have internet issues like I did with Jurassic World. There's still a lot of things that I've thought about now with Jurassic World Rebirth that I just wasn't able to get to during that live show because of internet reasons. But yeah, support my follow me on Twitter. Support the channel, like, comment, subscribe. Um, Man, I feel like I'm on a roll, but like I really need to get going. I really need water. I need to pee, and I really also need to just knock some stuff out so I can go to bed early tonight because I am just so exhausted. I don't like being up talking this late. Uh, my voice is actually about to give out. Like I can feel the throat drying out, and I ooh yeah right there. Yep, it's going. All right. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day.